So I was doing a little research on Wikipedia today, and I wasn't going to do another video, but I saw something that I'm going to have to put on this again, and the yellow star, what I have found here, and it's Wikipedia. It's, you just look at Wikipedia, persecution of the Jews, and it starts with the Seleucids, and then the Western and Christian anti-Semitism, and then the Middle East and Arabs anti-Semitism, and right in the middle of the Middle Eastern and Arab anti-Semitism, we have something about the British, what the British did. Now, folks, just as a reminder, a few days ago, Israel and the British celebrated the 100th year anniversary of the Balfour Declaration. And the Balfour Declaration promised a homeland for the Jews. How many times have we talked about this? It was a solemn promise to the Jews and Jehovah, the Holy One of Israel. So I'm going to start reading, like I say, halfway through the middle of the portion where it talks about Middle East and Arab anti-Semitism. It would take me too long to read this whole section, but I will read this portion. During the Holocaust, the Middle East was in turmoil. Britain prohibited Jewish immigration to the British Mandate of Palestine, while the Jews were in need. No Jews were allowed to go to the British Mandate by order of the British. So you see, folks, the British are just as culpable as the Nazis. Concerning the Holocaust. I will continue to read this. There may be more information here, but that was what I wanted to point out this morning. As a result of what the British did, in Cairo, the Jewish Lehi, also known as the Stern Gang, assassinated Lloyd Moyne in 1944, fighting as part of its campaign against British closure of Palestine to Jewish immigration, complicating British-Arab-Jewish relations while the Allies and the Axis were fighting for the oil-rich region. The Mufti of Jerusalem, Amin al-Asayani, staged a pro-Nazi coup in Iraq and organized the Farhud pogrom, which marked a turning point for about 150,000 Jews who, following this event and the hostilities generated by the war with Israel in 1948, were targeted for violence, persecution, boycotts, confiscations, and near expulsion in 1951. The coup failed and the Mufti fled to Berlin, where he actively supported Hitler. In Egypt, with a Jewish population of about 75,000, young Anwar Sadat was imprisoned for conspiring with the Nazis and promised them that no British soldier would leave Egypt alive, leaving the Jews of that region defenseless in the French Vichy territories of Algeria and Syria. Plans had been drawn up for the liquidation of their Jewish populations if the Axis powers were to triumph. The tensions of the Arab-Israel conflict were also a factor in the rise of animosity to the Jews all over the Middle East, as hundreds of thousands of Jews fled as refugees, the main waves being soon after the 1948-1956 wars in reaction to the Suez Crisis of 1956. The Egyptian government expelled almost 25,000 Egyptian Jews and confiscated their property and sent approximately 1,000 more Jews to prison and detention camps. The population of Jewish communities of Muslim Middle East and North Africa was reduced from about 900,000 in 1948 to less than 8,000 today. On March 2, 1974, the bodies of 4 Syrian Jewish girls were discovered by border police in a cave at the Zabdani Mountains, northwest of Damascus. Farah Zybak, 24, her sisters Lulu Zybak, 23, Mazal Zybak, and their cousin Eva Saad, 18, had contracted with a band of smugglers to flee from Syria to Lebanon and eventually Israel. The girls' bodies were found raped, murdered, and mutilated. The police also found the remains of 2 Jewish boys, Nathan Shaya, 18, and Qassem Abadi, 20, victims of an earlier massacre. Syrian authorities deposited the bodies of all 6 in sacks before homes of their parents in the Jewish ghetto in Damascus, or in front of the homes of their parents in the Jewish ghetto of Damascus. So you see, folks, this backs up what I said in my last video, the one I just posted, that there was no mercy shown to the Jews in the Holocaust. And we all know about the Nazism. So let's go and move to Tsarist Russia. For much of the 19th century, Imperial Russia, which included much of Poland, contained the world's largest Jewish population. From Alexander III's reign until the end of Tsarist rule in Russia, many Jews were often restricted to the Jewish Pale of Settlement, and they were also banned from many jobs and locations. Jews were subject to racist laws, such as the May laws, and they were also targeted in hundreds of violent anti-Jewish riots called pogroms, which received unofficial state support. It was during this period that a hoax document alleged a globalist Jewish conspiracy, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, was created. So you see, folks, now you see where this nonsense called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion started. It started in Tsarist Russia. It is a hoax. And it is that hoax, that lie, is alive and well in the United States. The Tsarist government implemented programs which ensured that the Jews remained isolated. However, the government tolerated their religious and national institutions as well as their right to immigrate. The restrictions and discriminatory laws drove many Russian Jews to embrace liberal and socialist causes. However, following the Russian Revolution, many politically active Jews forfeited their Jewish identity, according to Leon Trotsky. Jews considered themselves neither Jews nor Russian, but socialists. To them, Jews was not a nation, but a class of exploiters whose fate was to dissolve and to assimilate. Unfortunately, there is a segment, even among the Jews in Israel today, who still hold this view. Anti-Zionists. It is very unfortunate. But it is a result of That is a result of Russian lies. And the Soviet Union. Just so folks in the Soviet Union, or just so that folks who think that the Jews and communism are synonymous with each other, that needs to be put to rest too. Even though many of the old Bolsheviks were ethnically Jewish, doesn't say most, many. There were too many of them. They sought to uproot Judaism and Zionism and establish the Yevsektia. In order to achieve this goal, by the end of the 1940s, the communist leadership of the former USSR had liquidated almost all Jewish organizations with the exception of a few token synagogues. These synagogues were then placed under police surveillance both openly and through the use of informants. The campaign of 1948 to 1953 against so-called rootless cosmopolitans, the alleged doctor's plot, the rise of Zionology, and subsequent activities of official organizations such as the Anti-Zionist Committee of the Soviet Public were officially carried out under the banner of anti-Zionism, and by the mid-1950s, the state persecution of Soviet Jews emerged as a major human rights issue in the West as well as domestically. Now they have a little bit about the South Africa, the Nationalist Party in South Africa were under the influence of the Nazi movement. But I won't go into that. But I think that is enough for today. Hopefully, unless I run into something else. But the point of this particular video was to prove that the British, almost immediately after the promise to make a homeland for the Jews in Palestine, reneged on that promise, and they did it. The most egregious part of that crime was done while the Jews were in the most need. Remember, mercy will be shown to those who have shown mercy, but to those who showed no mercy, there will be no mercy.